Welcome to another episode of And Now You Know with Bette and Julz. I'm Bette.
And I'm Julz.
And the purpose of this podcast, we created it because we wanted to empower, inspire, and elevate women.
And we are just truly hoping to create a community for us, for all of you, because life has a way of throwing some hard trials our way. Some are hard, some are not as hard, but whatever it is that you're going through on this crazy journey called life, we just want to be there for you, and we want to help you find others around you that can offer you the love and support that you deserve, no matter what you're going through, without judgment, with a lot of grace and hopefully some wisdom.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we want you to know that you're not alone. I've been through some things, and Julz was by my side, and she's been through some things, and it really is just about you knowing and fully embracing the fact that you're not alone, and all you need to do is just reach out, and you can watch an episode for some guidance and support, or you can, find some trusted friends that love you, will support you, and won't judge you. So the topic for today that we're going to jump into is forgiveness. And I think there are a lot of mixed feelings and mixed emotions when it comes to forgiveness.
And even understanding
Yeah.
of what it is. I was confused on what forgiveness meant.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
When you are faced with something that, when forgiveness feels like it's excusing behavior, that's when it's really hard. That's a tough pill to swallow. So let's talk a little bit about that and how you've encountered it.
Well, for me personally, I thought for a long time and sacrificed myself in ways because of the word forgiveness. And that does not mean that you forgive someone and then continue to sacrifice your well-being. That's not what forgiveness means.
Right.
It's not about continuing. And forgiveness has layers to it. The person that you are forgiving should genuinely, if they're asking you to forgive them, they need to change. They need to repent, and they need to change that behavior. But in my particular experience with a particular chapter of my life, the offense was a repeat offense, and I kept having to forgive this individual. And I had to reach a place where I had to tell the individual, I can't speak with you anymore, because I have to get to a place where I can love you from a distance, and I can't keep allowing you to offend me with the same things that you've been doing all this time.
I think the key in this particular, when somebody is asking you to forgive them, is that it can't be about the words. It has to be about the action.
The actions
and
is
if you
everything.
continue to see the same actions over and over again, then that's really not asking you to forgive them because they want to change.
Right.
They want you to excuse the behavior and continue to take the X, Y, and Z.
Well, and those repeated offenses truly tell you that this individual has a character flaw.
Right.
And there may be some situations where you can live with that character flaw. It depends on how deep the wound is and how deep the level of forgiveness is. But forgiveness isn't even about that person. It's about you and creating the peace that I know I was looking for in my life. And it was just affecting not just me, but my children and my extended family, and then rippling out to my friends. It was having a deep impact on my relationships with people. People were cutting me out of their lives because of this situation. And I was enabling really, really bad behavior with the mask of forgiveness.
Right.
But I don't know that the forgiveness was there then.
Yeah, I think in that case, the forgiveness was enabling.
Yes, it
but
was.
it wasn't actually changing the behavior.
Right.
I would say the quote that I have heard in the past is that forgiveness is kind of giving up the hope that something could have been different, right? But ultimately, ultimately, when we talk about forgiveness for ourselves, I will speak for myself. What I learned is that it really is not positive or beneficial to your life, to your soul, to your future, if you're holding on to any bitterness, any resentment, anything that's actually inflicting pain on yourself, which it is when you're carrying and you're harboring all of these, the memories of the past that are hurtful to you, and continuing to relive them and replay them. You're not being kind to yourself.
And they reoccur.
And they do.
They aren't just memories. They are things that can be perpetual and ongoing. And it's just kind of a 101 kind of scenario. It's classic behavior out of the dynamic in a bond, in a relationship, where you've got the offender and then you've got the enabler.
Right.
And I was, we've talked about this in previous episodes, a horrific codependent. And so I was the perfect match for someone who had repetitive behavior that was not good for anyone.
Well, and we've also mentioned in past episodes, givers and takers.
Yes.
So when you are a giver, which we both are, so when you're a giver, there's no limit to the, what you will do for someone you love, what proving and professing your love and all of those things. There's no limit to that. The problem is that when you are matched up with a taker, there is no limit to what they will take either.
No.
And so that really kind of coincides with giver, taker, forgiver, enabler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You kind of, that's just a cycle.
It's a cycle, and it's a dangerous cycle because you start then entering into the trauma bond dance with these individuals, and then you get so caught in what I used to call a spider web of, it was really deception, and what I was believing was my truth was actually just what I was dreaming, what I wanted the truth to be. And I would get snippets of that, but it was a cycle. And then I would forgive, and then it would happen again, and it was just this dance.
But it was the hope.
It was the hope. It was my desire. It was my belief that love was enough to heal the deep wounds. But I didn't even know what the deep wounds were.
Right.
And that's where I started whittling away and debilitating my own spirit and my own soul to the point of being so empty that I didn't even want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
But I knew I wanted to be here because I had my children and I had my family, my mother and my sister and my friends, and I knew deep down inside I wanted to be here, but I didn't want to be here that way. But once you've started that dance and you're caught in that web, you hear so many people say, why don't you just get out of whatever the relationship is where this offense continues? It's not that easy.
Right.
That's not how it works. So if you're in a situation where people are saying, why don't you just leave? We understand that that's not how that works.
Yeah, it really isn't.
You're not crazy.
Yeah. And even if, and I'm going to say, even if there isn't abuse involved, I was in a relationship for almost 20 years. I was married for almost 20 years. And, I think back, now I've been divorced now for 5 years. And I think back to different points of our relationship where I really should have left. I really should have ended the relationship because it wasn't going in the right direction. And there was no abuse. There was no physical abuse. But at the same time, you've invested so much time. You've spent all these years. You now have children. So you do all these things and you continue to hope that something can change. And, back to the forgiveness part of it, fast forward to I got divorced. She got divorced. The forgiveness part for me is sitting here today, 5 years later, where I'm so grateful for my ex.
Uh-huh.
I am so grateful to my ex. I'm grateful to him. We have a good relationship now. We are, great co-parents to our kids. We think we're great co-parents to our kids. We have 2 teenagers, which, if you've had teens, you know where we are in life. But really, the part of forgiveness that I wanted to talk about today was the forgiveness of myself and the forgiveness of him, because I have forgiven myself for the woulda, coulda, shoulda, of I should have left sooner. I should have spoken up. I should have communicated better. I should have expressed myself in a different way. So I have forgiven myself for all of the things that I wished had been different in the relationship. And the reason why I have forgiven him is because through that experience with him, I found the greatest version of me.
Right.
And if you know me at all, you know that I am full of energy. I am super positive. I absolutely love to see everybody win, me included. And so I feel like I have stepped into post divorce, I have stepped into the best years of my life. And every year, I dedicate a lot of time and effort into personal development, therapy. Like, there's a lot that we have done, and we were divorced at 2 different times. But post divorce, the growth that comes, when you put in the work, when you want to become the best version of you, that's when you can really, you have to confront forgiveness if you want to grow, if you want to do better. That's where forgiveness comes in. And I think it's the greatest gift to yourself and the greatest gift to the other person.
Right. The relationship that I'm speaking of was my 4th divorce. And I don't even talk about the second one because it didn't last long enough to be worthy of conversation. But my therapist did describe to me, before I hit rock bottom and sought help and therapy and improving myself and becoming the best version of who I am, my doctor told me that I could be in a room with 100 men and 99 of them were healthy, good, perfect, whole guys, but I was attracted to the one that wasn't healthy because I was a fixer. I wanted to fix something that was broken. But that's the psychological aspect of what was going on inside of me with my codependency. And so I did become attracted to this individual who was broken. And it was just all part of God's plan. It had to be. And I'm so thankful for him being in my life. And there were some just incredible times that we spent together as a couple and as a family. And I've read several times in books and on other posts on social media that if you hear yourself saying, man, the times that we have are really, the times that are good are really, really good, but the times that are bad, they're really, really bad. Chances are you're with a narcissist. So that can be a very tricky balance relationship to be in. And it's like walking on eggshells every day of your life when you're in that situation. But what it did for me is that it did lead me to a place of rock bottom. I couldn't hardly move. I was physically ill. I was throwing up. I couldn't get up off the couch. And so my doctor was like, okay, you can get up for 5 minutes and walk, and then you have permission to lay back down on the couch. So it was baby steps. It took me a couple of years to have some sunshine come back into my soul again. And I'm so thankful. Mm-hmm. I am so thankful because if that hadn't happened, and he was a big love for me to lose. I did not want to lose him, but I had to for both of us, for me, for him, for our children. I think I would still be floundering around in the pool of horrific codependency and still repeating the offense, but it was so severe and such a significant loss and such a big ask of forgiveness for myself and for him that it changed my life. And so I'm forever thankful for him. I'm thankful for the things that he did for my children. Two of my children weren't his, and I'm thankful for some of the things that he did. I'm not thankful for some of the things that he did and that he exposed them to. But I'm thankful.
And to be clear, none of the behavior is acceptable. We are not excusing the behavior. We're not.
My behavior wasn't acceptable.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah. I mean, there are three sides to every story.
Right.
There's his side, her side, and then there's the truth. And the things that he says, the things that I say, both have fabrications in them, and then they both have some truth.
Yeah.
So the most important thing that you can do is to look in the mirror. I'm going to say this every single time we're on an episode, is you've got to look in the mirror and come to grips with what your part in the dysfunction is. And for me, I was a common denominator in quite a few failed relationships. And it's hard to look in the mirror and say that about yourself. Looking yourself straight in the eye. And then comes the forgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah. And in my particular case, I know that there are a lot of people in her shoes that may still be in her shoes. Mm-hmm. And I think that is, listen to her words. And if that speaks to you, there is help, there is change, there is a road ahead of you, but you can change that for yourself. And in my particular case, where my marriage wasn't, the characteristics weren't the same, but at the same time, the looking at yourself in the mirror it still applies. Mm-hmm. Because, you have to take responsibility for how you're living your life, what you're accepting in your life. And, I know you've heard the quote that whatever you're not changing, you're actually choosing.
Yep.
And that sounds really harsh. It sounds really harsh if you are in a situation that is really horrific. That sounds really harsh, but at the same time, at some point, we all have to take responsibility.
We do.
And in my failed marriage, there are things that I had to take responsibility of. I can't just point the finger and say it was all him. It wasn't all him. There were things about me, and a lot of it was we weren't equally yoked.
Right.
We weren't. We didn't have the same values. We didn't have the same vision for our lives. We weren't going in the same direction. But, in my case, we didn't even know. When you get in a relationship super young, we were in our early 20s. You don't even know. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you're looking for. And so you don't really understand that you're not equally yoked. You don't even know that. You don't even know what it means.
You're in love with the white picket fence.
Right.
Illusion.
And so 20 years later, you have this rude awakening to reality of this is what my life has become. How the hell did I get here?
Yep.
And then you have to take full responsibility. And until you take full responsibility, you will continue to put yourself on the cycle of woe is me, this is all happening to me, until you decide that, wait a minute, I don't have to allow this. And I want things to be different. Yep. I deserve better. I want more out of my life. X, Y, and Z, you fill in the blank with whatever makes the most sense for you. But
what's fascinating about it, though, is if you don't, like for you, you got your first divorce. And then
my first and
only divorce.
I only plan on having one.
Right.
But thank you.
But here's our goal in this conversation, I do believe, is that if you're in a relationship and you are getting a divorce, we want it to be your one and only divorce.
Yes.
We want you to get to a healthy place now. We'd love it if you got to a healthy place before you got married.
Actually, that's ideal.
That would be ideal. But if you're in a marriage and you're looking at divorce, we want to help you get to a place to where that's it. That's the only time, because I've gotten 4 divorces. And let me tell you, it's not fun. It's not something I'm proud of, but I am at a point in my life where it's got to be talked about with you all, because I don't want you guys to think I'm just coming from a place of oh, I think I just want to do a podcast for fun and
And it's
blow
all
smoke.
sunshine and
It's
butterflies.
not. It has
Yeah.
not been sunshine and butterflies. And there have been episodes where I've said I've been in situations where I've looked in the mirror and gone, how did I get here again? I've done that in jobs. I'm primarily speaking about relationships and I had to call my divorce attorney again. I went in front of the same judge for a divorce. And there is a lot of humility and humbling that occurs when you face that. So I absolutely had to get to a place of forgiving myself because it leaves a wake of destruction behind you. And it starts rearing its head in your children when they become adults and they express some anger and disappointment in you. And I would literally cut my right half of my body off to make my children feel better about the things that I put them through. So get healthy, people.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah,
healthy
it's true.
right now.
Absolutely.
Don't do what I did. Call me. I will tell you all the ugly details. I will. If you want me to share them on here, I'll share them. I'm not going to say names because I respect every single one of the men that I was married to the point of they were a stepping stone of getting me healthy and getting me to my marriage that I'm in now. That is a beautiful thing. And, you know, one of my husbands has died. One of my children's fathers has died, and that makes me sad.
Yeah. So, and this is a very heavy topic. And we bring this up because it's one of those conversations that is uncomfortable and a lot of people don't want to have this kind of conversation. But the reason for this platform is so that we make things there is hope, there is opportunity for growth, there is reconciliation, there is resilience that comes out of this. And so
There's second chances.
there's second chances. That there is an opportunity to make something amazing come from something that was not so great.
Yeah.
And so that's why we want to have these kind of conversations, because they are to inspire and they are to uplift and empower you in the decisions that you have. You have the decision, you have the ability to change your life.
Yep.
And it will happen just as quickly as you say, I don't want this. It's time to change.
Yep.
And we are talking about relationships and forgiveness, but I'm going to bring up also that another area that we should all always think about, and this is a process that I have gone through recently, is when you think about your parents and you are now an adult, and whether or not you're married or you have kids or whatever stage you are at, there are a lot of things happen in everybody's childhood. What is the quote that you say? Nobody
escapes childhood trauma.
Yes.
Nobody.
And that is true in whatever form you experienced it in. What I have learned for myself in the recent years is that your parents do the best they can with what they had, and however they knew that they could kind of manage their process through parenting. And at the end of the day, you wouldn't be who you are today if you didn't have some of those experiences. So
You wouldn't even be here without your parents.
You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. So even for some years where I had a lot of confusion and a lot of disappointment, where I thought about, my mom should have done this or my dad should have done that. You come to a place. I am now a mom, and and my kids, I am sure, would share that they would like things to be different. I'm sure at some point,
Of course.
But at the same time, I now have a level of respect and honor and love for my parents for giving me life, the fact that I'm here. But I also feel like without some of those, kind of shaky experiences or, whatever traumatic experience I had, without any of that, actually, there's a quote that Tony Robbins says, and this is, if you're going to blame them for the bad, then you have to thank them for the good.
Yep.
And if you sit here today like us, where we're talking about making lemonade out of lemons, right?
Right.
And we're talking about how you can turn things around, then there is gratitude and thankfulness that goes to the people, to your
Well,
parents.
and for those of you who have, I mean, I had a magical childhood until I was 14 years old. And then my dad just died one day, boom, gone, dead. And our whole world turned upside down. And that was my trauma in my childhood. But there are some of you out there in homes where it's not magical and it never has been magical. And so hopefully you can get to a place of just honoring your parents just for giving you life.
Right.
And now you've got an opportunity as an adult who's not living in that anymore. Remember, the forgiveness is for you. It's not for them. You don't have to call them. You can write them a letter and not mail it. You can read it out loud to yourself in an empty room, or you can read it to a friend or somebody to get that out of you, and it helps so much. I wrote a letter to my mom and to my dad. It was one of the exercises that my therapist had me do because, I kept thinking that it was just failed relationships, but it wasn't. It was me. It was me and my dysfunction that was causing the failed relationships. So the marriage counseling thing we're going to get to in another episode, or it's in another episode. And I don't know. I mean, I just think sometimes we need to be cautious about talking about childhood trauma because some childhood trauma is much more substantial than even death that I went through. So don't think that we are taking childhood trauma lightly and the different levels of childhood trauma. But the point is that as adults, I could still be where I was. I could be I could be getting my 10th divorce by now at the rate I was going. But I didn't want to. I wanted to change. So that's what we're hoping. We're hoping that we can get you to a place of understanding, forgiving yourself, and then putting one step in front of the other to get to a place where you go, oh my gosh, it feels so good to understand now why that was happening in my life, and to understand that God forgives you. I used to see God up in heaven with his arms crossed, shaking his head, looking down at me going, man, what a mess I made when I made you. But when I forgave myself and I started understanding myself, I saw him with arms wide open, and they've always been wide open. He's just been waiting on me to come and feel his grace and his love and his forgiveness. And that's free.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is free.
I'll tell you the gift that I have gotten from her. We didn't know each other when she was going through all of these things, and when I started hearing her story and she started sharing all of the experiences that she had, what it did for me was that it gave me such an amazing example of somebody who's been through so much stuff. I mean, horrendous stuff, all of these experiences, and somebody that can still show up like her and
Make me cry, Bette.
Oh, stop it. Such a positive example and make such a difference in somebody else's life. Even after the stuff that she's been through, she wants to be a blessing to other people. And so when she talks about God doing this, I only saw her doing this. So it's such a cool thing. And what all of that has turned into for me, it's all been wisdom. That's all wisdom that she has passed along to me, and she was by my side during my divorce, and she has seen me at my lowest. And I will tell you that because of her story and because of her experiences, it is the reason why I knew I could trust her the most. So, damn it.
I love you.
I'm not going to cry. I love you too.
I'm not going to cry either. But I am a big Jesus girl. And so if I appear to have strength, it's only through my faith and the belief in all those scriptures that every single promise in that book belongs to me. And one of his promises is that he could take the ugliest parts of me and turn something beautiful. And I'm looking at my beautiful.
Oh.
And I'm going to cry. So, and we're at the end of this.
Yeah. Well, so
learn to forgive, and you will be so happy that you're crying.
You
and
will be.
I just love to do this, and I just truly want to help.
And that's why we're doing this. That's why, after all the things that we have been through, it just felt like, I had somebody throughout my difficult times, and we know that there are people out there that sometimes they don't have somebody, but we wanted everybody to know that they have somebody.
Y'all have
we
us.
Wanted everybody to know that you're not alone, that, either she or I, we have been through it, and there is such a bright, beautiful life at the end of that.
Yeah, no matter what.
That you can get through, and it really is so amazing from over here.
It
really is.
It is. We want you to come over here.
Yes, we do want you to come
over here with us. No matter what, we're going to love you anyway.
Not only do we want to love you and support you through it, but we're also super fun to hang out with, and we just have that heart of like literally uplifting and helping other people.
Serving. I want to serve.
I want to see everybody win. I want to see everybody become the absolute best version of themselves. Of why are you here on this planet? You were meant for something great. And I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see that for everybody.
This one, you've heard me say it before. She was my boss in 2 previous jobs. And she literally, her saying was, you can't compete with me because I want us to both win. And she truly, with her experiences, she would hand success to me and the other sales reps, success on a silver platter. And she was the best leader I've ever had in my whole entire life. And the reason that she was the best leader is because she didn't stand in the chariot cracking the whip. She got down in the dirt, in the trenches with us and said, let me show you exactly how to do this. And man, I got to tell y'all, I am blessed beyond words that I could express that this gal right here chose me.
Aww.
God chose us.
Yeah.
And it is... forgiveness is amazing. You just won't
Forgiveness is
believe how
amazing.
much it unblocks everything in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, in your spirit, in your whole being. And it just opens up so many doors of finally getting what you deserve.
Yep.
And that's the best. You deserve the best.
You do. And what I will say, which is a quote that speaks to me, is when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Mm-hmm. And I think that she appeared in my life right when I needed it. And I think for other people too, whatever you're going through, you need a community of inspiration. You need some, advice. You need some guidance, whatever it is. We hope that we can be that for you. So be sure to subscribe. Be sure to tell your friends to follow us as well. We are a relatively new podcast, and we want to be able to share for years and years to come. We will talk about anything that you want to talk about. You can put any comments or questions or topic ideas in the comments below, or you can shoot us an email. Our email address is hello@betteandjulz.com. Bette is Bette. Julz is Julz, and we will also have it in the description box below so that you can have it spelled out correctly.
Yep. And we want to hear your stories, and we want to walk through them with you. And we are not professing to be therapists or counselors. We are just 2 girls who have our PhDs through the journey of hard knocks for real.
School of Hard Knocks.
The School of Hard Knocks is where I got my PhD. And I just have so much love for all the women out there all the women, especially those who are struggling.
Women, moms, sisters, wives, divorcees, whatever. Like, seriously, there's
no judgment.
No judgment.
Judge-free zone.
Judge-free zone, yeah.
So, okay, that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode.
We love all of you. Mwah.
Bye.